First of all, we shouldn't be so sure about the exact numbers because, as we know, many people just refuse to answer questions of the opinion polls. Secondly, even if we assume that there is a definitely quite high support for President Putin, maybe 50-60%, still we have to understand what is the point of relevance for most of the Russian people. Those people remember the 90s, the period when Russia was extremely weak, extremely corrupt, but also extremely unsafe, and people suffered a lot hardships, social economic hardships. And what they do remember is that the current circumstances, even if now there are some symptoms of another crisis in Russia, are far more better than the 90s. So for them, Putin is a symbol of relative stability. Putin for them is a symbol of strength of the state, which was absent in the 90s. For them, the Putin is also the man which is feared by the external world. And he symbolized the strength of the Russian state as a great power. Actually, annexation of Crimea is a kind of historic event for most of the Russians, which were confronted with the dozen of years of Russia giving up, from their perspective, giving up its lands. So now, when the Putin symbolizes the change in Russian policy, during which Russia started to grow, also in terms of its geographical space. What we can judge from the statements and from policies suggests that there is an open-ended Russian policy. What is rather clear is that Vladimir Putin and his government are trying to restore strategic control over the post-Soviet area and to restore a degree of influence within Europe which would be in some terms comparable possibly to the former Soviet Union. Of course, it depends actually on the Western reaction, on the West's policies vis-à-vis Russia. And I would say that the Russians are ready to go as far as they will be allowed by the West, by the Western policies in response to the Russian policies. I believe that judging from the current circumstances in Ukraine and current mood of Ukraine's population, we could suggest that yes, Ukraine is virtually lost for Russia. But what we see from the Russian side and from signals that Russians are issuing, Russians denying to accept the reality that Ukraine has lost. Russia still believes that the policy of hybrid warfare, economic pressure, and economic and social crisis, and ultimately political crisis, which will stem from that, would inevitably bring a situation in which people start to rethink their attitudes, and there will be a government again sometime in the future in Ukraine that will be ready to return the policy of come to terms with Russia first, and then possibly even continue the integration process with Russia.